Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Alien vs. Predator Galaxy podcast, the original Alien and Predator podcast. I'm regular host Aaron Percival, aka Corporal Hicks.
And I'm co-host Adam Zeller, aka RidgeTop.
And there's a new face on the screen and a new voice in your ears. If you are a member of the web community, the forums, you'll recognize his name as VoodooMagic. Welcome to the show, Mr. Voodoo.
Thanks for having me, guys. Long-time listener, first-time co-host. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, and you've actually been something of a contributing writer as well for the website lately. If you read the website, what will they have seen from you?
I did a piece on the Lost Predator ship. That was pretty detailed. I was pretty excited to get some information that's pretty much not been on the internet. And prior to that, what did I do? It's escaping me. Anna. Her deleted scene from Predator 2, and it was detailed analysis of that. So it was pretty fun. It was enjoyable, and I hope to do more.
Well, as of recording, you do have one not quite in the bag yet because I've been a bit lazy in finishing my my editing of it. But there is another piece coming out to look forward to from Mr. VoodooMagic.
That's right.
Which is what?
We're just looking at the story behind Predator 2, the real story behind the story. I don't know if we want to spoil it or not, but how a certain comic book impacted the story of Predator 2. So I'm excited to spread that along because not many people are aware of that, And we want to give credit where credit is due.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that one.
So that'll be out soon. And we'll have a video as well up on the YouTube channel as well, like we did with the Anna one. Voodoo's joining us for his first time, and as tradition, when we have a new guest on the show, we always love to hear what your first encounter with the franchise was. And as we are talking Predator today, we're talking Predator Hunting Grounds, by the way. I realise I've gone this whole intro without explaining that. This is episode 109, and we're finally doing our review episode of Predator Hunting Grounds. So, Mr. Voodoo, please tell us about your first encounter with the Predator.
Well, it was the first Predator film. I was a little kid. I'm older than you guys, and I actually got to go. I was taken to the theater to see Predator, 1987, in a packed theater. And I remember being blown away about it, scared because I was so young. But it's a great movie. And, I was an Arnold fan to begin with, but this didn't feel like your typical Arnold movie. It didn't have the one-liners and stuff that he was known for. It was treated a lot more seriously, almost like he was an everyman. And I loved the movie, but it wasn't really into seeing Predator 2, where, it solidified my love for the character. I've always said to people, when the elder Predator throws that flintlock to Mike Harrigan, he threw it to me too, because that's where they expanded on the Predator lore, and I just fell in love with it. The fact that these weren't psychotic killers, that these guys were hunters, but they had a code, they had a sense of honor. I know, Aaron, you don't love the sense of honor. I know.
Right now.
They only take that a bit far in the books, but
I loved it because it created so much layer to these creatures, and ever since I've just been a huge fan, and I've loved it ever since. Read the books, read comics, played some of the games. So and that's why I was so excited when Predator Hunting Grounds came. So that's the story.
Cool, I like that. Especially because everybody, if you're on the boards, Voodoo is a unabashed Predator 2 lover. So yeah, it's cool knowing. I didn't realize that was actually the moment that really made it, there for you. So that explains so much. And that's one of the things I actually sort of talk about in my opening couple of paragraphs. So while Voodoo's doing a thing on the comics, I've been doing a thing on the last moment of Predator 2 as well. And my opening spiel is about how that moment opened the Predator lore. So yeah, totally get that.
I do think the film has gotten better with age. Personally, I think
It's
it's
always
more
good.
accepted.
It was always
Well,
good.
critics really bashed it when it first came out.
It doesn't mean it wasn't good.
No, I
They
mean,
actually,
I thought it was always good, but
they actually considered it was super violent, but in today's terms, I think it's a bit tame. I would say.
yeah, did it initially get like NC-17?
NC-17, yeah.
Then they had to cut it a bit.
Yeah, they were in such a rush that I don't think it actually, they have the staff on studio that actually helps guide them, what the review board is going to pick out and what they're going to have to curtail to make this a rated R picture. Because Stephen Hopkins said his first cut was primarily the cut. I mean, he wished he had more time to work on it because the production was so rushed. The thing was supposed to come out spring 1991. Instead, they said, you filmed this starting in February 1990, and we're going to release this in November. And that's such a crazy from shooting to to completing your production and getting it in a premiere theater. It's such a crazy short amount of time. He really wishes he had more time. He actually would have made some changes to it. But so I don't think it actually got ever slapped. They didn't have enough time for it to send to a review board and get slapped with an NC-17 rating, but he had to make lots of edits to the gore before he submitted it.
So Voodoo is a Predator 2 expert, for those, again, who are not aware of him from the boards. He's the community expert, so...
Hey, this November 30th anniversary.
Indeed.
Yeah, we're gonna have to celebrate that. I've been meaning to watch it again in 4K.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, because you didn't watch it for the Wyatt interview, did you?
No, I did not.
You guys better do a podcast on it too.
Oh, we will.
Don't you worry.
We got to do an anniversary podcast. I don't think we've ever done a Predator 2 podcast just on that.
No,
yeah,
just on that.
I mean, just Predators.
We've done Predator for the 35th anniversary, and we did Predators just as an off the cuff, I think, one, because that's one I'm immensely defensive over. So I think that was the one I picked to talk about. But we're doing Predators again, not next month, the month after.
10th anniversary.
10th anniversary, yeah.
Oh,
so we've got 2 anniversaries this year.
Crazy how fast this decade has gone by.
God, yeah. Ridiculous.
Anyway, though, to the top.
What we talked about, Adam? What we talking about?
We have a new Predator video game that came out late April, a couple days before Alien Day, and this kind of came out of nowhere about a year before. It was just kind of announced out of the blue, and Sony was publishing, and we were totally surprised. I had only played a little bit of Friday the 13th by the developer Illfonic, but I could tell from what I played that they were very passionate about the source material. And so I was excited for what they'd bring to the table. And we have been playing the fuck out of this game. I'm already level 100 on PS4. And I think I'm level 20-something on PC. But yeah, it's been a really good time. I think we've all been part of a regular group that plays together, and I've had a lot of fun with it.
Did you play any Friday, Voodoo?
I'm sorry, say that again. You guys cut out.
Had you played any Friday before touching Hunting
I
Grounds?
played a little. I had a friend that actually had it, and I got to experience Friday the 13th a little, and I really loved the asymmetrical aspect to it, and it was a lot of fun. The graphics aren't so good, but it was great to play as Jason. The little teenagers, not so much, but
fake American teenagers.
yeah. And what was worse is if I recall, their mouths didn't move. When they.
Yeah, I remember that with the intro video and the counselor's just mouth is hanging open. Yeah, it was. But it's still, that game, it had a really rocky launch. And Illfonic was pretty dedicated to regular updates and communicating with their community. And unfortunately, they were going to take the game further than they did. But because of the ownership rights lawsuit with Friday the 13th, they had to cut their support short and moved on to Hunting Grounds.
Well, they were still supporting it, weren't they? It was just content creation.
Yeah. Just no new content. Yeah, they were still doing patches and stuff. And it just recently came out on the Switch. As well,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I guess I'm the only one who had no experience whatsoever with Illfonic or Friday. I'm not massively into the franchise. I mean, in this day and age where there's so much shit being thrown at you and it feels like so little time to do stuff, I tend to stick to the things that I'm already interested in. I mean, it's not very good when it comes to taking on like new franchises or whatever. But it's just the reality of these days.
So I need to ask, did you guys have any idea this was coming? When that trailer came out in May 2019, I was shocked.
Yeah, no leaks or anything. We were just like, where did this come from? A new game? I mean, we were pretty stoked just because we had something, you know? I mean, all we really had was Alien Blackout, which was pretty maligned by the community, but it was a pleasant surprise for us, Aaron. And we had been waiting on Cold Iron's persistent multiplayer alien shooter that hopefully is still coming before too long. And this just came out of nowhere. And they had a trailer, and it's like, wow, we're probably going to get this within a year or something. And I think they announced the release date a couple months after that, like at the end of the summer, wasn't it? Early fall.
I think it took us a little while to get the release date. We just knew it was.
We knew it was coming
2020.
Yeah. So just to have a new game in the franchise, you know, as far as console games, we haven't really got too many. I mean, we've had about 2 per generation. Like PlayStation, we had Trilogy and Resurrection. And then with the PS2 and Xbox, we had Concrete Jungle and Extinction. Xbox 360, PS3, we had AvP 2010 and Colonial Marines. And then this generation, we've had Isolation and now Hunting Grounds. So we've had about 2 games per generation if you're not including the PC titles. But
Isolation boarded the old gen.
It was on both gens. Yeah. But I mean,
it wasn't.
I
very
never played the old gen version of Isolation on 360 or PS3.
It was not very stable, apparently. Which, well, it looked great on the current stuff. But yeah, even before that, I mean, there was still a good. In terms of Predator specific only, the last big one would have been AvP. No, it would have been AvP.
Really? Well, I mean,
Predator specific.
Well, I mean, not Predator exclusive, including Predator was 2010. I mean, because
10 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had in Mortal Kombat 10, I think we had a Predator appear.
Do we count those, though? Do we count those cameo appearances?
They were such cool cameos, and each one was a little bit more involved than the last, right? I mean, initially we had Call of Duty Ghosts, where he was just part of one map. He was a pickup you could get, but I thought it was really cool that you could play as him in a match. And then we had Mortal Kombat 10, and I've always been into the Mortal Kombat games, so having an Alien and Predator in that series was really cool for me. And then Ghost Recon, which is where we were like, wow, okay, we need a game now, because I think the Ghost Recon thing, as far as all of his cameos, was definitely the most involved.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great to have him back with his own game again as a character.
It was such a surprise because after The Predator, the film, you know, everyone was like, the franchise,
it was dying.
Franchise is over.
Yes, the franchise is dead. Disney now bought it. We're never going to see anything for another decade. And then lo and behold, this came out and it brought new energy to the franchise, you know, and we're going to get into it with the lore. But I mean, reinvigorated the Predator franchise, I think, in ways that the Predator couldn't accomplish. You know, everyone was in a hurry to forget the Predator and what it did to the lore, you know. And now, I mean, you know, fast forward to, what is it, a couple years later?
2 years.
And and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, after the Predator, I mean, we were worried about comics and novels too, but thankfully with the Hunter series, we've had some of the strongest comics we've had, and now with this game, it feels like Predator's going in the right direction again. I think Illfonic is to thank for that, for sure.
Okay then. Well, let's start talking the game then. Let's give it some reviews and impressions before we break into specifics. So Voodoo, I want to hear from you because you are that you know, that motherfucker that went out and brought a console exclusively for
Yes.
for the game. So tell
Guilty.
us in 3 sentences, no, not quite 3 sentences or less. Just give us a quick summary of sort of where you are with your impressions of Hunting Grounds.
As a Predator fan, I love it. As a gamer, I realize it has some issues, needs some work. But overall, I am so happy with Illfonic, how they treated the franchise, how they treated the lore, and the gameplay experience. Because when everything is clicking, you feel like you're in that 1987 film. And that's really what I was hoping for. And it's not every issue. It's not every match. It often depends on the players you're playing with, but when everything lines up right, I'm in that 1987 film. You know, I'm Mac, running into the woods chasing the predator while everyone's yelling me to come back. You know,
I think that's what the game is really successful with, is just creating that feel of the original film, like being a part of the squad in the jungle or being the predator hunting them. It very much took it even further than Ghost Recon did, because we thought Ghost Recon kind of nailed that feeling as well of being like watched from the trees. So it's clear that Illfonic has a lot of love for the source material, just like they did with Friday the 13th. And as far as the vibe of the Predator universe, this game nails that for sure.
Is that your mini review?
So I'm going to go a little further here. I do think, unlike Colonial Marines, like, that game was fundamentally flawed, right? This game, the fundamentals are there. The fundamental gameplay loop is solid. It's not quite polished enough, and it needs more content. I think right now it's good but flawed, but it has the potential to be great. And a lot of that will be up to how they support it going forward, how active the player base is, what type of content and how much of it is going to be coming in the near future. So I think this game is going to kind of evolve moving forward. This is really the first live action game we've had in the series. Sorry. What is that? Not live action. What is that term? Live service. Yeah. Live service game we've had in the franchises. And I think a year from now, it could look pretty different than how it is now. We could have a lot more content. We could have multiple game modes. We could have a lot more cosmetics. And there could be even further balancing things that have been implemented. So I feel like the game is good, but there's a little bit of potential that is not quite being tapped into. I realize this isn't like a big budget AAA game. This didn't have like the hundreds of millions of dollars budget that a game like Call of Duty does, right? Illfonic is a smaller studio. And for being a smaller studio, this is an impressive experience. At the same time, I feel these days with the gaming landscape, there's a lot of expectation there. And for a game to launch with 2 maps and 1 mode, it was a bit...
3 maps.
3 maps, 1 mode. It was a bit slim pickings as far as the content was concerned. I mean, we played it in the beta, and we were like, oh, I can't wait to see what other maps are going to be coming in the final release, and that was it. So I think, and honestly, like, the game plays really well. I feel like the Predator especially, like, this really nails the feeling of running through the trees as the Predator and doing like crazy leaps and the melee combat. It as far as playing as the Predator character, this is about the best that's ever felt. But I do feel that I would have loved a single player something, like maybe not a campaign story, but maybe like a series of training missions. I know I'm going beyond just a mini review here.
It's more than
mini review is, it's good, but there's way more potential that I hope Illfonic brings out in the game.
I pretty much echo your guys' thoughts. Voodoo said pretty much how I sum my thoughts up. You know, as a Predator fan, I really enjoy it. It is, not in terms of pure quality, but in terms of the feeling of the franchise. You know, Hunting Grounds, I think, is what Isolation is to Predator, what Isolation was to Alien. You know, that feel, that aesthetic. the way the gameplay felt, I think that is what Hunting Grounds is. The Predator is fantastic to play as. You do feel like the Predator, but in terms of the Fireteam as well, the whole thematic setup of the game is just pure Predator feeling, pure Predator thematics. It does have problems as a game. Generally, I think my big issues at the minute are the amount of content. Maps is a big issue. Real big issue. Launching with 3 maps and 1 game mode. I really enjoy it, but how long is that going to sustain me? I realise that over time we should get more maps, but should and we'll have to see. And my other big issue is invitational crossplay.
That's something that the community, especially on their forums and social media, have been pretty vocal about, and they have addressed that they are trying to make that happen. Mm-hmm. Crossplay is still a pretty new thing, and the game launched with it in terms of matchmaking only. But yeah, I mean, I bought the game on PC just so we could play it on PC, which, I mean, more money for them, that's good. But most people are just going to want to play with their friends. And cross progression would be good too. I mean, that's the thing with Call of Duty as well. Like, I can hop on PC, all my unlocks, everything is cross progressed. And so that, I don't know how because crossplay is new, but they should be able to do that. Like, I hope it's not too long before that's implemented, because a lot of people are still complaining about that.
Well, I think the problem was it was a feature that was promised. Illfonic, it wasn't there in the beta. I say the beta, it wasn't a frigging beta. In the trial, it wasn't there in there, and it was promised that it would be there on launch, and it wasn't. And honestly, it's very hypocritical of me, but I wouldn't be so fussed with it if it wasn't for the fact that I just don't like playing on the PlayStation. I don't like playing shooters on the PlayStation at the minute, and I want to be on my PC playing it. I had to get you to break all your morals to buy it.
I know. Please still bring the game to Steam. I'll buy it again if you do that. I'll buy it 3 times. But yeah, to be fair, I do think they came out before launch and said, "Hey, we were hoping to have this feature ready at launch, and it's not quite ready."
I don't remember them saying that.
I'm pretty sure they did on Twitter. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know how real it is, but there's a lot of people threatening a class action lawsuit.
No, I don't think this is a Colonial Marines type situation. But the game could use some work. When we first played it before the first balancing patch, especially as we progressed, we could tell that the Predator was a bit underpowered. I think we all kind of felt that way, unless you were playing the Berserker with a combi stick. Yes. So that it would kind of get comical to a point where we'd be chasing the Predator down with a knife when he was mortally wounded, and you could kind of just continually parry the Predator, and you'd have a full squad of players just parry spamming with a knife, and I'm like, this shouldn't be happening against a Predator. But thankfully that's been fixed. I do feel the first balance patch went a long way to resolving some of the initial issues the game had at launch.
You shouldn't be able to parry it at all. I mean, if you're watching the films, you'd find that pretty silly.
Yeah, but you've got to give some concessions for games.
Yeah, it's kind of like the block even in AvP 2010. Like, people were like, "Well, that's not realistic," but it's like, well, you need to be able to stand a chance.
Right.
So you do have to balance like the lore with the gameplay for sure. And I do think the fact that they made it so you can't spam the parry is pretty good.
And that's something else that I think needs to be addressed and praised is, for their lack of communication. I think Illfonic's communication really needs to be worked on, because I think that's caused a lot of rage, I suppose, within the gaming circle. And
at the same time, I give them some leeway. I mean, they did launch this working from home in the middle of a pandemic, so that kind of has to be taken into account. So,
but I think just communication in itself, it makes a huge difference. They just before the Arnie DLC launched, they finally said, "Yeah, we're working on the invitational crossplay." So I do think that just acknowledging issues and people understand. You are working from home. You are. I hope people understand. You are a smaller company, but just acknowledging of issues and confirming that you are working things goes a long way. But the patch support's been fantastic as well. We had, what was it, about a week before that first patch was launched with some balance issues. So that was really speedy and really out. Really out? What kind of fucking language is that? That was speedy and nice to see come out. So I do think Illfonic's support and they're just their support, has been really good. And from our communications with them over the promotion of the game, I know these guys and girls love the franchise, and I can feel that in the game regardless of whatever issues it has at the time. And let's be honest, this game is going to be something of a living entity anyway. There's going to be plenty of balance tweaks and patches and stuff like that coming over, hopefully in the next few years. That it's going to take a while for it to actually, I think, settle down as a game. When we finish this review, I mean, if the game substantially changes over the course of however long, with further updates and stuff, we're going to come back and revisit it.
Yeah. And that you're seeing that more and more these days. You're seeing game journalists will review a game again because of the nature of live service games these days. Like even a game like No Man's Sky, like launched to bad reviews. Everybody had issues with it, and then it had a real comeback story. Even a game like Battlefront 2, which was like the most controversial part of the gaming industry. Players loved it by the time they were finished with the game. And they were signing a petition to try and get more paid content for the game. So games really can change and evolve over the course of their lifespans these days. And I hope we see that with this game, because unfortunately we're huge fans, but the gaming journalists have not been as forgiving with this game as we have. It's gotten some pretty lower review scores, unfortunately.
That's why I'm happy their competition has really thinned out, because if you guys remember, Cyberpunk was supposed to come out the same day. And there was supposed to be an Avengers game, I think 2 or 3 weeks later, and both were delayed. So I was pretty excited that all this competition they were going to have just vanished, and it gave Predator Hunting Grounds a little more chance to have the spotlight on it.
Yeah, and despite the gaming journalists really haven't been kind to it, have it? Angry Joe just trashed it in his recent review.
I didn't even watch it. That was 45 minutes of insanity I didn't want to go through. Yeah.
I didn't get through all of it because I don't find that kind of personality-based, sensationalism interesting. I can't. It's like we were talking.
I like his channel a lot, but that review, I thought he was a bit harsh on the game.
Angry Joe aside, though, I've watched a lot of reviews, and all of them pretty much say they had fun playing.
Yeah.
They really had an enjoyment, especially as playing the Predator. It was more about the bugs and the matchmaking wait times and essentially all the issues they were having with the game and the lack of content, the lack of gameplay, that they saw this as enjoyable, but an unfinished game.
Yeah. It does feel like it's not a complete game, doesn't it? I think that would be a fair assessment of the state of it.
Well, I think part of the issue is that, look, they were trying to create this environment of this classic 1987 film, which I love. But when you incorporate these 3 maps, overgrowth, backwater, derailed, they all somewhat feel similar. You're still in the jungle. And it feels like they all could take place in the same map if they were just all connected. And I think that brings on some unintended repetition. If they would only mix it up with some different environment that actually stood out from these other maps, it wouldn't feel like you're recycling the same kind of jungle feeling.
Yeah, agreed. I know a lot of people wanted a urban map, and they kind of responded that it would be too difficult to do that because so much of the Predator's movement is based on the Pred core system, and that's, I guess he has like guided pathways that you kind of control where he or she, which there are female Predators in this game, and we haven't mentioned that yet, and we'll get into that as well, can jump from guided path to guided path. So it doesn't really feel on rails. And it is an interesting system of navigating the Predator through the trees. I'm doing it less now. I use those big leaps more than going through the trees. So I think there could be a way you could do it with an urban map. You would just have to find some sort of replacement for the Pred core or a new way to integrate it into a city area.
It gets a little harder than it just being the navigation, though. I mean, Voodoo, I think we talked about it on the boards. You know, they could get around it with things like scaffolding and power lines and telephone lines and stuff like that. But the problem also then becomes cover. You know, in the jungle, there's the foliage to hide, you know, that shimmer, that cloak move, and even a little bit when the Predator isn't there. I think Illfonic talked about it in one of the panels that they did, you know, in the early builds of the game when there was no foliage and it was just the trees, and the Predator was being wrecked because they could see it that far away. And, you know, the cloak's effectiveness is something that's still being tweaked now, and you can still, you know, see it from a distance if you've got your eyes in your head and pointing it the right way. So it's funny because I think they've built a really amazing movement system. I think it feels the most Predator of any of the incarnations, you know, any of the AvPs, Concrete Jungle, but it's kind of locked them into the jungle setting.
Yeah. I wish there was a way they could tweak the Predator to adapt a bit of a different movement system to an urban setting without the Predator getting wrecked. So hopefully that's something they could do. But hey, if they only stuck with the jungle, I could think of a number of cool new maps and new ideas they could add in that setting, which we'll also get into.
But we've seen this in Assassin's Creed, you know, where you could use the building tops and the rooftops and, you know, and moving to the idea of being in LA, you know, street signs, traffic signs, fire escapes. And you could have it maybe at night where your cloak is working a little better than, say, in the pure daylight in the jungle. And I think something like that would really mix it up and really be impactful for someone who's looking for a change.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't heard your ideas, RidgeTop, but everything still just feels somewhat similar. I mean, they put a train station, but it still feels similar.
I think for some variety's sake, they did add weather to Friday the 13th. I don't know if that was there at launch, but if you added like storms, if you had the maps at night, so that the fire team had to use night vision and the Predator had a little bit more of an advantage, I think that would be a cool switch up.
There's so many ways.
Just weather and night for what you have already, but they do need more maps and I mean, there was somebody did what's it? I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Data mine, right? Data mine. So this is how a lot of leaks happen with games now. People, when there's a new update for a game, people will data mine the files, and a lot of times stuff they're working on already has files in the game. And the data mine gave us an idea of some of the stuff that could be coming, and it looks really good. I mean, it was stuff that we wanted before we even knew that it could potentially be coming. So they data mined a Shuriken and the Falcon, which the Falcon or Predator uses in Predators, the third film. And they also data mined night vision as well as a new map. So the night vision obviously implies that they will be adding a night mode to the game. And the Predator Falcon, I hope, means that we will be getting the Berserker Predators from the third film, as well as the Predator Game Preserve Planet. Like, that could be such a cool game mode. Like, I mean, maybe it's even like Battle Royale, where you have a ship where one person escapes, the last one standing, and you can have like a PvP element or something like that. So, and you can have like 3 Predator players. I don't know. So if you had like a human battle royale with 3 Predator players and the last human tries to get to the ship or something, that's what I mean. Like the game needs some other modes that could switch things up a bit more than just your typical objective stuff. Which another thing you mentioned, Aaron, is the objectives typically aren't Predator focused. Like the fire team you play as is a special forces group with no knowledge of the Predator, unless you're playing as Dutch, of course. And then you just happen to come across the Predator in the mission. There are a couple missions where you find like mysterious Predator devices, and another one of the data mined game objects was a Predator corpse that was like an autopsy. So I'm hoping that'll be another game mode in terms of like they've secured a Predator body and different factions are fighting over it or something. So yeah, I've been going for a bit here. What do you guys think about those ideas?
They sound good. I was thinking of Predator versus Predator, or 2 Predators, like 2 scouts, 3 scouts, against once amped up berserker. And you call it a bad blood situation where these 3 scouts have to hunt down this berserker because he's killing with, against all the rules, against all honor. And I think a gameplay like that would also play really well. And they already have most of the mechanics for it,
Would you have someone be the upgrade Predator?
No, thank you. But yeah, I mean, I think it's stuff like that they could simply do. I mean, with Predators, I would love that, but again, that's jungle related.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go crazy though if there were river ghosts running around,
Yeah. But I mean, if you look up in the sky and you see the planets up there, that would be pretty cool. And you found like the totems with crucified predators on them. Like if you could recreate that environment from the 3rd film, that would be really unique.
If you want to go that far and you find a predator, you cut him down and he's an AI and he helps you.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I think that there is a lot that the lore will allow them to do within the sort of mechanics that they've already set up. Like you said, bad blood mode. Come on, how is that not a auto include in something like this? That is a mode I hope to God that is coming down the lines. I see your point, Voodoo, with it still being a jungle map, but the preserve planet also seems like a must-have because it is a jungle map, but it also, there's plenty of variety to be had in there as well. Even in terms of the locale, what we've got is very human-based at the minute. I mean, it introduced a little bit of flavor with the Mayan-y kind of Aztec-y kind of ruins, but if you go preserve planet, you get the hunting.
You'd have to have the dogs as the AI, right? Because you wouldn't have human AI. So.
Well, that's what you have. You have the river ghosts attack AI river ghosts attack the predator, and you have the hunting dogs attack the fire team. And it's like 50-50 balanced.
But you could also freshen up the aesthetic as well. I mean, you probably couldn't quite do the mining rig, but you could use that as a basis. It sort of implies that the preserve planet isn't the predator's planet, or it wasn't always the predator's planet. So you could then go with some other alien structures in place of the Mayan stuff, or the Stargazer bases and stuff like that. Weather would be fucking fantastic. Imagine rocking up in the middle of or you're playing through and then a battlefield style dust storm or thunderstorm rolls in and the visibility is that fucked. But the rain stops the predator from cloaking, but it also reduces the visibility anyway. So you don't know he's there until he's within a certain radius or whatever. Snow maps, you go comic inspired and you go to Siberia, or fuck it, why don't we do Battle of the Bulge with some thicker trees? I don't really know what the forest is like in
they can't do everything.
Yeah,
but still a small developer.
I know, but you know what I'm saying, there's plenty of options there as well, even AvP-ish kind of inspired in terms of Antarctica.
Oh yeah, give me a fully interior pyramid, but they're not gonna do that.
You know what I mean? There is plenty of options here. I don't want to see Xenomorph. I don't want to see XX121 or aliens in this game, but give me river ghosts. Give me some other creatures based on.
But you would be fine with AvP cosmetics, right? Like if they did the 3 characters from the first film, as well as Wolf and the Shuriken.
Yeah,
so.
I Predator gets so few exclusively Predator things that it pisses me off when Alien leaks into it a little bit. So when Concrete Jungle came out, that was a game that
I loved that mission.
Didn't do well with critics at the time as well, but that's very much loved now. But back then, when I rolled into that mission with aliens, my fucking controller, it pissed me off because I just wanted a Predator game to be a Predator game. So if we want XTs in this, which I think we should, give me some Predator-based things. Give me River Ghosts. Give me some design based off the other trophies in the Predator 2 trophy case. Or fuck it, give me some of the people that Ahab was hunting in Fire and Stone. It's there's fodder for so much stuff in this game that I really, really hope Illfonic play with.
And that's the most frustrating thing about this game, I think, is that the fundamentals, like the structure for just an awesome game is there. And it's not tapped into.
Maybe they're pacing themselves too much, I mean, look, Dutch was a huge surprise. And a lot of people think it was a bad decision not to release that during launch. I mean, keep it away from the beta. I understand, make it a big surprise. But you got Arnold. And Arnold hasn't reprised his role since, well, he hasn't, since 1987. So this is a huge deal. And why this didn't come out at launch, well, it might have hurt them. I don't know. But they had this
I think honestly it was a good idea for the first DLC. Now I wish there would have been more coupled alongside it rather than just him and the single weapon. But I mean, you had the tapes as well, and that's free for all players, and his knife and his rifle are going to be free for all players next month. So I do think it was a pretty enticing first offering for
it
DLC.
Was a business decision, yeah.
Just to have him back, and I mean,
but it's such a big
Arnold's
decision,
great on social media too,
right?
Yeah.
It's such a big rollout that maybe they're going to roll out these other maps, and maybe they're just spacing things too far out and taking their
hope.
Playing community for granted, thinking they're not going to tire out of these issues, and maybe they should have bunched a little bit more together, these playing modes. This is just me suspecting.
I do think the next DLC plans on their roadmap need a bit more meat to them than we got in May.
Yeah, I don't know how. Look, Arnie was a fucking brilliant inclusion in the game. Let's face it. I did not see Arnie coming, despite the fact that he was very prominent in the OWLF recordings. I didn't fucking expect him. I think he was a brilliant thing. But how strong is the incentive going to be for future packs if they're only releasing one thing?
Not strong enough.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it was coupled with an update, thank God, and it was a great update as well. The updates have been getting progressively better, which is the fucking point of them, and I'm so glad again for that support from Illfonic. But content.
Yeah,
I love. Like, I'm just going to skip ahead to the customization here. I fucking love the level of customization in this. When the trial came out, I was not expecting to be able to pick my fucking Predator's dreadlock textures. Who the fuck thought of that as a customization feature? And it's fucking brilliant. I would never have thought of that. We get to pick our own masks. We get to pick our own skin patterns. We get to pick our own fucking shade of the metal on the masks. But what about when we've unlocked what we like?
Yeah. It needs to be more of a steady stream of content for sure if they want to keep the player base active and engaged.
I would love.
Go ahead.
You know what? I'm sorry. You know what I would love to see in game is that Predator ship we saw in the tutorial.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this ship and I'm trying my hardest. They have this invisible barrier, so you can't get to it. Because I wanted like a goofball to stand by the ship, do some screenshots. And but I couldn't get there. But I'm thinking, why do they not put this in the map? I mean, if it's at least it's a stationary thing, but wouldn't it be great if this thing was like random on the map, cloaked? And if you found it, like if you run into it and you shoot at it long enough, the cloak
8 million
dissipates.
Veritanium for you.
Yeah, and you get to go inside, or maybe you could get your own smart disc. You know,
I'm glad you brought that up, because I noticed that in the tutorial. I was like, they wouldn't have made that Predator ship model just to put right there in the background, would they? Because it's a nice looking ship model.
It's great.
So I hope there is a game mode that involves the Predator ship. Honestly, one of the things I was hoping this game would have, but doesn't at the moment, was kind of like the extra features they had in Friday the 13th. Like they had this really cool thing called the virtual cabin, where you could explore around this cabin and see the different characters, and it would have like the history of the franchise, and it was kind of like a mini museum. And I do think this game is ripe for that as well. Like, let us explore the inside of a Predator ship in first person, and maybe we can see like the trophies of the players we've killed or something, and see some of the artifacts from the different films. Like something like that would be such a great addition to the game.
And you got to believe that something like that is in their plans. I mean, these guys love the lore, and they love exploring the lore, and they've expanded it so much. And agreed, you make a model like that to be thrown away in a tutorial. It can't be. Maybe it has something to do with that Predator autopsy that we've yet to see yet. Maybe there's going to be a new map with a crash ship, and we have to get the Predator off the autopsy table. I don't know.
Another thing I'd like to see is you have this great introduction with the fire team on the helicopter. And on the Predator side of things, he just kind of jumps down and appears. I would like to see something more like in AvP, where they crash down on the pod.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Emerge from the water or something.
Or walk out of a cloaked ship.
Yeah, that would be cool too.
But it was like I was saying earlier, though, it's transparency of communication. All this shit that we're going like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if? Wouldn't it be cool if? And there's somebody at Illfonic listening to this going, oh,
yeah, we can't do that.
No, there's somebody listening to it going, oh, this is coming next month, or this is in the game plan. It'd just be nice to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how close do you hold your deck to your chest, right? But we did get a little leak of something which was not intended, which was the Alpha Predator. And that is based on NECA's upcoming figure, which is like a celebration of their 100th Predator figure. And the model is super impressive. And it got me really excited for what else they're going to do, because it's not just like a couple minor things they've added to their current Predator models. Like, it looks like the structure of the Predator's head is different, and the dreadlocks are like larger and like tied together. And his armor is just really elaborate, as is his mask. I'm like, whoa, if they're going all out with just this obscure figure from NECA, like, what else are they going to do? So I really hope we get a whole ton of new customization options for the Predator and the fire team. One thing I'm wondering about, though, is the Veritanium and the content, the loot box system. I mean, that's what it is. You can't pay for the loot boxes in like a form of microtransactions now, but the system is set up for something that would typically be that. So it's very strange to me that they have this RNG type loot crate system, but you can't spend money on that. Now, I hope they don't do that, because I don't think randomization paid microtransactions are quite in fashion anymore. But I hope they have like skin packs. Like, hey, you want all 3 of the Alien versus Predator skins for your Predator? Here's the price for it. Just let me pick what I want to buy. I really hope they don't add a bunch of new content to the supply crates and have that become paid. That would be a bad idea, I think.
Like game modes as paid DLC would suck fucking balls.
Yeah.
The game modes need to
keep it cosmetic only, and let me pick what I want to buy.
But then again, Dutch isn't really cosmetic, because he's his own class, and the Alpha Predator was his own class as well. Is that still acceptable, do you think?
I mean,
yeah, he is a cross between assault and support. I think he has a little more health than assault and a little less gear capability. So that's true. He is his own class.
Would you guys disagree with like a new map being paid? Like, that should be for everybody. Otherwise,
right?
I mean,
back in the day, you were paying tenner for 4 maps, something like that. Which I don't
map
think
packs are on the way out too. I think because they don't want to split their community. So I think the skins are going to be where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I think pretty much they should stay away from paid maps. I mean, at least at this point, until they build a little more of a roster of maps, because otherwise it's just going to hurt the game.
Yeah, it's going to piss people off as well, especially when it only launched with so few.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam, I've been playing fucking that Stargate game from 2010 a lot recently. That was
Resistance.
Resistance, right? Yeah. That was a multiplayer only thing. That died a death really quickly. But that thing fucking launched with 4 maps and about 3 different game modes. 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone feels this is an incomplete game. And if we start charging to make it complete, I think people are just going to revolt, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they still got to make money. But it did launch as a $40 game if you got the standard edition. Yeah. So
that is cheaper than normal, isn't it? Forgive me, I don't really buy many.
I mean,
games.
For a multiplayer only game, not really. You look at something like Dead by Daylight, which I think that launched at about 40 as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's 40. So. Yeah, but that is honestly that's what everybody's after in terms of asymmetrical multiplayer. These games, I think, these days, I think that's the most successful one is Dead by Daylight. And it's a fun game. I don't know if you guys have played that at all, but
this is the only asymmetrical thing I've ever played.
Yeah.
But back on the Alpha Predator, I'm pretty excited about that. And I just have a feeling, I mean, I have no inside knowledge that maybe Predator Hunting Grounds worked with NECA versus, I know NECA is celebrating this as their 100th figure. It's the first one they actually designed it. But, Titan was brought in early for Stalking Shadows. And I would imagine NECA was maybe brought in too, because they focus so much attention on building the lore on the human side. What happened to OWLF? What happened to Stargazer? What happened to Dutch? What happened to Sean Keyes? What happened to the reinstatement of OWLF? They focus so much love and attention on the human side. They had to brainstorm the Predator side. So I won't be surprised if this comes out and they were working in tandem. NECA actually designed a figure, but this was, a work of cohesion. And they were maybe, brought in like a year ago to work this out.
So, I believe NECA has hinted that they're going to do a Dutch figure, which, I mean, that's only natural that they would. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like we've just spent about an hour talking about kind of
really
what we would like.
On your point, Voodoo, real quick about the lore contributions. Yeah, I think that was great with what they did with the human side of things. Like, I was like, Stargazers are replacing OWLF really when the Predator movie came out, and now they kind of switch that back, like, OWLF has been reinstated and Stargazer is now this rogue agency, which at first I thought that was kind of silly. I was like, really? Stargazer is like selling drugs down in the jungle now?
Well, I thought of you while listening to the tapes earlier.
Yeah, the Dutch tapes go into that a bit, and they kind of justify that. They're setting up like alien tech black market, which, I mean, that book, Hunters and Hunted, went into Stargazer as like this kind of independent contractor agency, and
no, it was more of a merging.
I thought it was Traeger trying to bring the private sector in to replace OWLF.
No, I mean, they were already Stargazer in Hunters and Hunted. They went into it being like a merger with
that's right,
with the OWLF, and that I think Traeger was trying to get a bit more independent with. No, they were running out of funding from the government, so Traeger was trying to bring in the private sector to replace the funding that's been lost from the government.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it doesn't really jive with the backstory from Hunters and Hunted, which I was a little disappointed about because of how much I actually really liked that book. But I am really happy to see OWLF back because I think they are a part of the Predator lore that it's not been mined enough. How the fuck do you have an organization like that and not use it as a framework for a ton of the comics? It's
interesting because they're not a clear-cut nefarious organization like Weyland Yutani. And this goes into that as well, especially in the tapes. Like, you see Peter Keyes develops a friendship with Dutch, and I loved how they went through that in the tapes. And even in the movie Predator 2, you see this organization is not just like, oh, we're going to take out Harrigan. And it's like, no, he's already involved. Let's show him what's going on, I guess.
How many times do I have to tell you don't know what you're dealing with?
Exactly. So I do think OWLF is a great part of the Predator lore, and this game brought that back in a really cool way and made Stargazer the nefarious organization, which hopefully they do expand upon that and kind of justify the stuff they're doing in South America in the future a bit more. Because at first I was like, come on, guys, Stargazer's setting up wheat farms and shit. But
I love Stargazer as the bad guys. The fact that they demonized them. I mean, I hated Stargazer after the Predator, but I love them as in it for the money, private contractor selling alien tech to the highest bidder, maybe our enemies, you know? And those Dutch tapes were fantastic. I mean, the fact that first they added all that ambient sound, you know, when he's in the jungle.
He's like cigars as well. Each one,
He's always lighting up his stogie. And, and you know, Arnold, how great of an actor is he? But you could tell he put an effort in it, you know, that this was really well acted. And, you know, he's sitting there cursing. He's talking about the reinstatement of OWLF, what happened, even him escaping the hospital bed. I loved when he started discussing his ideological differences with Peter Keyes and his concerns about predators and how the fact that, you know, everyone keeps upping the ante. When the humans become more of a challenge, you know, they present more of an assault. And
sending a warning, they're taking it as a challenge, I think, is one of the things he says in one of them as well. Yeah.
This thing is a wonderful addition to the lore. I can't remember where, other than a book or a comic, that we've ever gotten such a substantial piece that feels relevant to the Predator universe, that doesn't feel tacked on or happening behind the scenes. I mean, they filled in so many blanks here, and props to them, because it's really well written. It's really well thought out. None of it was I rolling my eyes or cringing or they got this wrong or they got this wrong. Yeah, I had a little problem with the radioactive poisoning, you know, because there's conflicting stuff on that. But
I kind of like that, honestly. I thought it was cool how it didn't. They had said it was a different type of radiation where he still got poisoned, but it wasn't going to kill you. So for me,
it
was like it was like an extraterrestrial form of radiation. They go into it a bit, but
didn't that just sort of, I suppose more you for this one, Voodoo, because I don't think Adam's read it, but didn't that little connection back to the Predator 2 novelization, did that not make you smile to show how deep they were sort of mining? I mean, that fucking book's so hard to get. You know, if they've gone out and hunted that fucker down and had a read through it and tapped into that, that's sweet.
It just shows what RESPECT, right? It just shows respect for the universe, and I just love it to death. And I was shocked. I was shocked that they brought in Jake Busey.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't need to bring in Jake Busey.
That was kept secret as well.
And after the Predator, like, I was so intrigued that he was going to be in that movie, but he was like kind of a glorified cameo in that.
Yeah.
But in this one, it really goes into his character and the loss of his father and his involvement with the organization. I thought it was great that they brought him on to do that, and I really hope they continue the tape thing in the next DLC. I don't know who else they would do, but
I mean, keep using those two. Yeah, keep using Keyes and keep using Arnie.
It would be interesting to have a new character each DLC drop.
Harrigan.
Yeah.
See what he's been up to. But I just loved it, and the fact that, you know, the majority of the players aren't going to be listening to these tapes, or they listen to it once and discard it. You know, it's really only meant for the hardcore Predator fans. But you got to think about all the time and energy it took just to fill in these blanks, to create these storylines just for us. I mean, Illfonic already adds like 3 points to my game rating just for that.
Yeah. And I love the fact also that they kind of explain how Dutch is still doing this into his 70s, and they go back to the Predator vampirism thing.
Yeah, I keep meaning to ask him about that. That'll be something to pop in the next podcast, the interview that we do.
Because
Yeah,
that was
they were
also
like-
in Concrete Jungle as well. That
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
It's been apart since, was it Eternal that started that, really?
Yeah, I think Eternal was the first to
Yeah.
do that. But sorry, what were you going to say, Voodoo?
And that made me a little nervous, though, when we, I think it was first in the Sean Keyes recordings where Sean was explaining that, Dutch went up against a female predator, and the way they were able to save him was, I guess they were reverse engineering the predator medical kit, right? And they came up with a serum with blood cells augmented with human DNA, and I'm like, here we go. We're gonna get
with the predator shit again.
we're gonna get a half predator,
Assassin
half
Dutch.
Dutch. Yeah, and and he's carrying around a combi stick. But fortunately, it's been very subtle, and it just explains why he's had a long life. So I appreciate that.
I love the fucking lore tapes in this. I mean, you do not expect that level of narrative in a multiplayer focused game, do you?
No, and that makes me frustrated too, because I'm like, oh man, can you imagine if they had done a campaign where you play as like Dutch in a squad and you have these different missions? And
well, we can do that whenever we want.
That's true, but to have more of a story structure to it that you'd be going through.
Well, I think that'll always be something that's missed. But again, I give it a pass because of so much of my. Yes, I fucking love the single player for AvP Classic, and yes, I love the single player for AvP 2. But you know what made me so? One of the things that made me so hardcore into the fandom was the multiplayer of AvP 2. So I understand.
Agreed, and I think you're right. Not every game needs a single player campaign or component. Games like Dead by Daylight, like that's built to be multiplayer, as is this. And I love that they weave a narrative within that when they didn't really have to.
Think with Dutch,
so
they only had to bring Arnold in and do his skin and do his get to the chopper. And, Adam, you could do his voice better than me. But, they didn't have to have him sit there and record all of these tapes. And that shows that they really have love for the franchise. Something far outweighs a lot of the problems with the game that
it doesn't feel like a phoned in tie-in.
Yes.
I've said it before, I get the impression I get whenever I talk to Illfonic is they fucking love this. And and I think it shows in the tapes. I think it shows in how well their writing team has put together everything. They love this, and I fucking love those tapes. I really do, and I do hope to see more.
And I love that they call this canon. I know you're gonna have problems with it because I know,
Heavens and stars.
And that's going to make those female predators canon. And I know you're going to have a problem with that, but the fact that this fills in the blanks, it's official. Look, they made NECA backstories canon, right? Those Kenner figures we just learned is canon.
Well, but you see this.
It's part of the Bible.
Everything is canon until it's not. Like they said, Colonial Marines was canon too, until you have, the next
public
Ridley Scott
outrage.
movie.
There's no outrage here, though.
Yeah, I mean, and just to clarify for Voodoo's thing, is not anything I have against this game being canon. I just fucking hate canon discussions because they're as bad as politics discussions, in my opinion.
I brought that up for you.
How very dare you! Every time I see that show up, I start to my eye starts to twitch and I lose fucking mobility on one side of my body.
Doing this on camera, I see your veins pop.
I tend to agree with Xenomorph on our forum that canon is just your head canon and what you want. And for me, this game is included in that because I think it's an excellent contribution to the universe.
Canon makes no difference to a person's personal enjoyment of anything is my thing. You enjoy what you fucking want regardless of it being canon or not. It makes no difference. Canon only matters to the people making products. It doesn't matter to us. But
for some reason, just certain people need it official. It's like a practice game versus a real game, right? You want it to be official. You want it to count. And some people, that's important to them. I understand.
It's not important to me, and it makes me angry.
No predators, can it? Exactly. The
Um,
big boob controversy.
hey,
So yeah,
they
let's talk
did
about
good
that.
with
This is. Go ahead.
I hate
Finish your
boobs on a predator, but I do really like how Illfonic did it because it isn't fucking. Is it Rule 34? Is that
Yeah.
the yeah?
No,
It isn't
they're
Rule
not
34
wearing
Predator titties.
bikinis. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very athletic formed. I think. I still have a problem with boobs on a predator. I always will, but I think Illfonic did it in a very tasteful way.
Not gratuitous.
Yeah.
Anyway, Adam, you were leading us on to something.
I was gonna say, yeah, this is the first time outside of the novels and comics that we've seen female predators in the franchise, and we really didn't see them that much in the novels and comics. We just kind of saw them here and there. So to have them be featured prominently here, and in such a cool way, I think. I like how the different classes they have different frames. You have lighter ones and more heavy ones. So it just felt that it was cool to finally see that outside of the novels and comics, and it makes me want to see it in the next film more. And I just think they did it really well. I mean, it's cool to have that cosmetic option.
It all goes towards the customization, doesn't it? I mean, in this day and age, why the fuck do we not have male and female choices in everything? And that they've extended that to both the Predator and the Fireteam, I think is brilliant.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the female predators, and in the forums, shout out to I think it was Pred Babe and Wisps. You know, we do have our female predator fans,
Yep.
and while not everyone's excited about the boob situation, they're really excited that the female predators are being represented. And I think one of them, it might have been Pred Babe, saying that I'm just glad they're not home, you know, taking care of the kids, doing the dishes, you know, that they're actually getting involved with the hunt and there's representation. And so I'm going to leave it to them. If they approve, which they did, then I approve. And it's pretty exciting to be, you know, added to the lore. Yeah, would I like a little more modification maybe in the head, in the crest of the head? Yeah, that would have been interesting. I mean, they do vary to some degree, but nothing too extreme. But I'm pretty happy, and they seem to be more deadly compared to the male predators. If you listen to I think it was the Dutch tapes.
It goes on about being smarter and
yeah, or maybe it was Sean.
He was saying they
Keats.
don't fuck around like the males do in the Dutch tapes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I really liked that, how instead of just killing him when she could, she left a scar on Dutch, and that he was seen as like this prized prey that had taken out multiple predators, and she was like, I'm not going to kill you, I'm just going to leave my mark on you, so you know I could have. So that was kind of
warning.
Yeah,
like, stop effing with us, stop. You know, wasn't there something, I think it was in the Sean Keys tapes, where they did some sort of EMP where it neutralized all predator tech. Like, it kept all our tech going, right? But it neutralized predator tech. They realized they're taking this equipment and reverse engineering, and everything is starting to feel like a warning and building up to a war, which I didn't mind the way at least it was presented in these recordings and tapes.
Kind of makes you feel almost like it feels like a warm-up for seasonal stuff or more story-based things, with how it's getting progressively more serious. And I think that, you know, kind of like how Battlefield, they did they did their themed multiplayer events where they released new maps based on a new conflict in the war and did themes around that kind of thing. It feels like something, the lore's almost warming up to something like that in this, which would be interesting, perhaps. I mean, like, Adam, you mentioned my thing about the objective variety earlier. You know, that is one of the things I worry about with the game, how not enough of the objectives are themed around the Predator. And while thematically it's a cool replication of the setup of the original film, where you walk in, the fire team walks into a situation not knowing anything about it. You know, I worry how long that's going to hold up, because we know everything about it. How long is that going to keep our interest? But it kind of feels like that might be like a warm up to seasonal stuff of the fire team does start to learn more. You know, we do get new missions, new maps, and new objectives and story modes that are themed around a progression of the storyline of this conflict that the tape seemed to be setting up, which would be really interesting. Actually, I think I'd quite like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how far they could really push that. I wouldn't want them to take it outside of the hunt context too much, to like a full-on battle or something. That might get a little too crazy. But I definitely think we need more Predator-centric game modes and mission variety.
And again, it's like we're saying in terms of the lore, there's lots of stuff they can do with that. You know, you can have they've detected a Predator drop pod, get in there, secure the drop pod. You are retrieving a downed Predator. You can be one of the guys coming in on the fucking helicopter at the end. But work it out a little bit more. So you're dropping in to go and find like what was left of a fire team, and then trace their stuff to find this downed Predator, retrieve a piece of tech, whatever. There's all sorts. But I do really want more Predator focused objectives. That is my big want into outside of things like just more content. You know, it is Predator themed stuff for the general gameplay.
And you would trust them for that. You know, they've done.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I never even thought I would, you know, I always wanted the Predator to be about the hunt. But, you know, I'm going through these tapes and so forth. And the fact that, you know, their idea is they don't want to leave any of their tech behind, you know, and we're starting to use their tech. And, you know, while it looked bad in the Predator, I guess it's all about presentation, subtlety. You know, I don't mind that they were reverse engineering this medical kit to augment Dutch's, you know, cells. I mean, you know, they know how to do a little, but not too much, to the point that, okay, this is giving him, it's like steroids, it's giving him a little extra life, but he's not going to turn into a predator or a hybrid, you know, predahuman and start climbing the trees and so forth. You know, it's all like, what I always try to say, it's all about presentation. You know, you can make a nice steak and potatoes and lobster, but if you take a trash lid and turn it upside down and serve it on the trash lid, it's no longer going to look appetizing. And that was the Predator. But Illfonic, man, I'm like, go for it. You know, suddenly I'm interested in a little bit of more of a conflict that's not just a hunt. And I never thought I'd be interested in that before.
Just as long as there's no global warming.
Hey, that was established in Predator 2.
Yeah. I feel like we've mostly been talking about lore and
we've
what
mostly been
there.
talking about stuff we want to see for this game.
So let's talk about the fucking game, guys.
All right.
So actually playing as the Predator, you know, the Predator is in the title of the fucking game, and people are going to want to play as it. What did we think about how the Predator handled?
I think he handles great. One of the main complaints, though, that I've been meaning to bring up that I've seen in a lot of the reviews is that there's a lot of pressure on playing as the Predator because so much of the tension of a map is determined by how proficient of a Predator player that the player on that side is. And I feel like there's more opportunities to progress as the fire team and get practice in as the fire team as there are as the Predator. First of all, more people want to play as the Predator. So the matchmaking queue times for the Predator are typically quite a bit higher, usually about 5 or 6 minutes now compared to the fire team where you can just kind of get into a game instantly. So I feel like overall, just for that alone, you get more practice with the fire team. Not to mention the fire team just kind of plays closer to a lot of other FPS games where the Predator plays very uniquely. So that's one thing that I think a lot of single player missions could help, like maybe not even story, just kind of like further tutorials, right? Something to give you a bit more practice as the Predator so you could develop strategies. Because I noticed I started having way more success as a Predator player when I stopped rushing, and you have to see opportunities and take those opportunities. And opportunities like if a fire team splits up, or if a camp alarm has gone off and they're focused on AI, or if one of them's on an objective. So it's really interesting how I feel like I was really frustrated initially playing as a Predator, but after having gotten some practice in and kind of trying to not go after the fire team too quickly, you develop strategies that are way more interesting than just kind of the run and gun you get with the fire team. Like, I feel the fire team is a bit more, do your objectives, stay together. If the predator shows up, unload on him, and that's kind of it. Like, there's a lot more strategy to playing as the predator, and I think for that there's a lot more pressure as well.
I think so. I think with the beta, everyone took a berserker and a combi stick and just rushed in and took everyone down. I think I took you guys down during the beta that way.
Yep.
But then I learned, especially when the game came out and then after the patch, that you just can't rush in there, that you have to play the Predator like the 1987 movie. If you remember, that Predator picked his spots. It's not like he just came down there with his blades and started hacking at everyone. He saw opportunities where there was, one of the, let's just call them fire team members, were separated from the rest of the camp, and he would attack then. Or you would take some shots and then see if they break apart, see where, how they run, and I found myself, like I said, in the situation of Mac, where, I'm going to have me some fun. I'm running and I'm chasing the predator because he's going to second wind. And I realize I'm the only one chasing after him, or maybe two of us, and the other two are separated. And yeah, I learned as a predator, you really have to be patient. You really have to not just be melee, but you have to use some long range attack, and it's a balance. You have to set up traps, and you have to use fire team members to set up those traps. I mean, the greatest thing you could do is just down a member, look like you take off, and then as they're reviving the down member, you take that.
Come back, yeah.
Yeah, you plasma caster, or you use your bow and you take down the member that's reviving him. You think everything is safe. You just don't go in there and take the trophy. So yeah, it's a big learning experience. And some people that it looks like new players come in and think they could just hack and slash, and then they're surprised. They're like, the predator is so weak. Look how quickly I died, And
but then on the reverse of that as well, you've got the comments where it's like, the predators are so overpowered.
Yeah.
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 I mean, that's just kind of going to be the
pleasing
nature
people.
of asymmetrical games, and I think they've balanced it pretty well after the first patch. I'm sure there's further tweaks they could do, but there doesn't feel like anything's fundamentally broken. It feels well balanced.
I'd like to see class differential.
Yeah, I mean, the scout still has very little reason to play, and I feel like ranged combat.
His thing.
It's useful in terms of harassing the fire team, right? You typically don't want to make your move until like the third stage of the match, where they're starting to head to the exfil point, or they're in their final objectives. You just kind of want to wear down their resources so they don't have as much ammo, they don't have as much healing, which will give you those opportunities to swoop in and make your kills. So it's really interesting and well thought out how you can strategize as the predator. And I wish there were on the fire team side of things, that there were a bit more interesting things you could do. Like, we were just playing this morning, Aaron, and you were telling me that the heat flare that kind of disrupts the predator's vision was pretty ineffective. And if they had other things, like you could disable the predator's tech or something temporarily, that might be interesting, just to put more strategy on the fire team side of things.
Well, I actually liked, sorry to interrupt real quick. I actually like using the scout now. I mean, tip the hat to one of our forum members named Caleb. He was telling me that since the patch, he was always playing the scout. Now, at first, I thought the scout was a little too squishy, but scout, can run faster, has more stamina. I believe can jump further. And I've been playing as the last few weeks just a scout, and I've actually really enjoyed it. But you got to pretty much play mostly ranged and go in with the melee, as little as possible. But I think there is a uniqueness about it that with some practice, you can still take down all 4 fire team members.
I just think it'd be nice to see more baked in uniqueness. So, the scout does have a natural boost to
That's fair.
the plasma caster, or ranged in general, or specifics. Maybe the scout's a master fucking bowsman kind of thing. Just something a little bit more to. Is it bad to say force a type of gameplay? If you've got, is it unfair to force a type of gameplay on a class or is that something you expect? You
still want a bit of freedom in terms of how you go about doing things, but you want classes to have certain strengths and certain weaknesses. And
I don't
so
think they're doing a
fit
good
different
job.
play styles.
I don't think they're doing a good job spelling it out because, like I said, what I've noticed at least is with a scout, you could jump further. Where does it say that? Where does it indicate in game that, this is his capability? Maybe he does a little more damage with ranged weapons. If he is or she is, Illfonic's not spelling it out for us.
And again, communication.
Also, another thing I want to bring up real quick, and this is kind of goes towards lore contributions as well. The Predator weaponry looks awesome in this, especially the new additions
I
like
fucking love
the
the
bow.
new bow. Yeah, I love the bow so
with
much.
With the bow, it's the same thing like the whip in AvPR, and please give us the whip. Oh man, I would love to see that too. But the bow is a traditionally human weapon, and they made it look like a Predator weapon. In terms of how it's laid out and how it functions. It also has a charging ability as well. So the bow is great. The one thing I would love to see buffed is the handheld plasma pistol, because it looks really cool. Like, it looks cooler than the AvPR one, in my opinion, but it just does like 0 damage, and there's no
reason to use it over the shoulder cannon as well. Yeah. And there needs to be alternate effects for that thing. Maybe that disables the HUD or something, like that.
In fairness, the one advantage it has over the shoulder cannon, or 2 advantages, is the first thing, you don't become uncloaked when using it, and it doesn't drain any of your energy. So other than reloading it, I think after 6 shots, you could stay cloaked for a very long time and just keep blowing away with that handheld. So I've used it a few times. I've enjoyed it actually more than my least favorite weapon would probably be the War Club, even after all the updates. But
apparently it's all about the Elder Sword now.
The Elder Sword is great now. Yeah, they really they changed the animations. They made it more efficient, more damage, so it's more deadly. I mean, I still love the combi stick, because even if they sit there and they parry you, you could start running away thinking they got the best of you, and then turn around and just chuck it like a javelin right into his heart.
I fucking love that is both a melee and a ranged weapon.
Yes.
That is, I think, one of my, that's fantastic addition.
Because in AvP 2010 it was ranged only.
It was only ranged only, and in AvP 2 it was only melee, and it's both. Give me a game where it's both, and they did, and I love that. That is one of the top points for this.
And same thing with the Smart Disc. It's the same thing. You could use it in melee, and since the last patch or update, they upped the damage on it. It's really great for melee now.
But I love playing as the Predator. It's like you're saying though, it does have a bit of a learning curve on it, and the wait times kind of impede your chance to get really good. But when I'm in there, I fucking love it. I'm quite fond of the net gun. Is what I quite enjoy. Getting down there, net 2 of them, slash up 1, run away. When they start coming around, yep. I really enjoy the net gun, which is funny because I hated it in the trial. I really didn't like it, but now it's my go-to.
Yeah, likewise.
For the minute.
But I do hope they add more Predator weapons as well. I would love to see the whip, and I hope the Shuriken actually is a thing. And it should be different than the disc. I hope it's not just a skin for the disc. I hope it actually has its own unique kind of attack.
I suppose that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Is again differentiating things. Wouldn't it be nice if the spear gun was in it? But how is that going to be different to the bow?
Yeah.
Well, with the Smart Disc you could control, but with the Shuriken, it's like throwing a that martial arts star. I forget what it's called. Maybe it's just called a star.
Aren't they just called shurikens?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, perhaps it's got a faster rate of flight.
That's kind of how it was in, if you remember, in the AvPR PSP game, Aaron. The shuriken was a bit faster than the disc, and you could throw them faster than you could the disc, like multiple ones. So.
But yeah, again, it's content, and that's just as much with the Predator weapons as it is with the Fireteam weapons. That was something I really liked with the Dutch DLC. Was having that M16 alike weapon with
the hammerhead.
Yeah, and that was cool because it looked like a modern iteration of the M16. So it's clearly his traditional weapon, but it still looked kind of futuristic. Because I guess this game does take place in 2025.
Yeah.
So, another Predator weapon that I really want to see that I just forgot. You made me forget it.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, while you're thinking, I love the Predator weapons. I love the net gun. I love the fact they can pin someone to the wall. You remembered?
I remembered. Okay. So if they do a wolf skin and they have that be its own class, it should have the dual shoulder cannons. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have to nerf that though.
Yeah. Or make. I don't know. I don't envy the balancing that Illfonic must be having nightmares with trying to get everything, quite fair, and stuff like that is going to not make it exactly easy, is it?
Oh. But overall, I'm really happy with the Predator weapons. Yeah, I agree. Maybe the handheld plasma caster could be a little more damage. The only one I really have a problem with is the War Club. I actually suggested that maybe it could give you a dizzying effect. If you're running too long and you run out of stamina and you start breathing heavy, everything gets a little cloudy. I thought maybe they could just use that mechanic every time you're hit with a War Club, where you can't. Yeah, as a stun, as long as it's not parried, that just makes you a little dizzy for the moment, and they already have that available, tested. So something like that. But otherwise, I love the bow. I love the combi stick. I love what they did with the Elder Sword and the Smart Discs. I love the changes. And you can actually down a Fireteam member with a Smart Disc, and it's not with a single throw, but it's being hit twice. As you guys know, you could call it back.
Yeah.
So if you call it back, as soon as it goes through him, and as long as he's not running sideways, it hits him twice and downs him. Once going through, and then one when you call it back, and it'll take him down. And I just love it. It's my favorite Predator weapon. I just love it.
And I think the Predator looks great in the game as well. I think they did a fantastic job with the animations with, again, the customization. I said how much I loved it earlier. The mask customization is brilliant. I love a lot of the new designs that Illfonic's brought to the game. Prophet is one I really like in this. Again, I want to see more masks and stuff like that. More
and the color.
Yeah. And just recently they made it so you could, before only the females had the thicker dreads and the males had the thinner dreads, but now you can customize it for each gender. But yeah, this game definitely has the best looking, most flowy Predator dreadlocks we've seen in any of the games.
When he jumps off and it kind of does the L'Oreal thing as well, is brilliant. I love how the Predator looks in this so much. It's just so satisfying seeing it run, on those branches and seeing it crawl around the trees and stuff like that.
Yeah. I had thought the best model we've got before was the Ghost Recon Wildlands one. I thought the artist did a great job with that model, but Illfonic has done the best ones we've ever seen. I think this is like, in terms of like how good you can make a Predator look in the video game space, this is up there with Alien Isolation, but on the Predator side of things.
And they've went back to the original Stan Winston design. I know you guys are big friends with ADI, and I'm notorious on the forums for not being a fan of the direction they took it. But they went back closer to the Stan Winston design, and I think they look terrific when that helmet is shot off. Yeah, I love their look. Yeah.
Especially in the fucking the end cutscene, especially when the Predator wins and is holding that skull up and doing the roar. It looks fucking gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Then,
yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead, Aaron. What?
And the trophy kills. Can you call them trophy kills? The claim kill animations and mini cutscenes in this. The polish on those is brilliant. Especially with the Dutch one, how awesome was that? It's like, yeah, you fucking take it, Dutch. You will go down to me as a Predator. I love those animations. Those
have you seen the backbreaker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, speaking of dying, but Dutch once in a while screams Dylan when he's dying.
You see, I thought I heard that as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if I was hearing things.
I
I
haven't
heard-
heard it. I gotta listen for it.
I heard it, and I'm like, I'm not going to mention anything. I think I was playing with our user Caleb at the time, and he's like, and then he brought it up, and I'm like, I've heard the same thing. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I mean, don't you know Dylan has been dead? But I guess he's in his little twilight, his death throes, and he goes,
He's like, Dylan, I'm coming to join you.
I'm coming home, Dylan.
How awesome is it when you're running around as Dutch and everybody's just doing get to the chopper?
Oh my god. Yeah, the first time we played as Dutch, Aaron, it was just a squad of 4 Dutches, and everyone was like, get to the chopper! And it was just so fun. So great.
It's one of those things that I just don't think is ever going to get tiring. Same as somehow the Predator theme does not get tiring in this game.
Yeah.
And I love the fact also that sometimes he whispers his voice commands, and I really want to know what's the mechanic that generates that. Is it?
It seems like when you're in an encampment and you haven't been spotted. I noticed that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like over there, you know.
Mm. So everybody's happy with playing as the Predator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wait times being the issue, really, when it comes to him, isn't it?
I would like to see ways to mitigate that. Mainly like
How?
if they did well, here's what they could do. Okay. Let's say you have a group of players that really enjoyed playing together. They could vote on if they want to stay together as a party and which one of them would prefer to play the Predator. So that way you can stick with the same group and you wouldn't have to go into matchmaking again and again.
The exact same private match setup, but in matchmaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Somehow implement that, where you could create and you could do that in like Rainbow Six Siege. It's just like stay as team. So if you like the players you're playing with, you can stay as the team, including the Predator player.
How is
so you
lobbying
can have
not a default thing anyway? It's got to be asked. How is that not a default thing?
Yeah, I wonder if they could do both, or if that would stretch things a bit thin. If you had like a browser lobby system as well as matchmaking, I don't know. That might be something we could ask him about, but
I think the wait times have been greatly improved ever since Dutch
they are a lot better. Yeah,
what, 3 minutes now?
Yeah,
4
I was
minutes?
playing last night, and it was 2 to 3 minutes, and maybe that's the answer. Maybe because people are inclined now to play Dutch
instead. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you come out with some more human skins that are going to attract people away from playing the Predator, it's going to be more of a balanced wait time.
Mhm.
I think an interesting thing to see would be the humans having some minor access to Predator tech as well. You know, whether it would have to be not as good as the Predator versions, of course, but you know, having Traeger's shoulder cannon rigged up, perhaps with a no friendly kill feature, or Harrigan having, you know, the disc as a melee instead of a knife. You know, it's there as a thing. I mean, Dutch shows up with the Predator Gauntlet. Perhaps there's some sort of stuff that they can bring into that. You know, they've got to be thinking about that. You know,
And he's got a biomask on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I want to be able to use
as
that
well.
biomask on a Predator, because
Yeah,
it's really cool.
that needs to be one of the customization things. That's the thing, isn't it? We enjoy so much that we just want.
We're just like, we want more. We want more. Give us so much more.
You know, give me all the fucking comic skins. Give me Broken Tusk. Give me Ahab. Give me all the Predators from AvP. Give me all the Predators from AvP Requiem as well. Give me Bone Grill, for fuck's sake. I just want the most obscure fucking Predator. I want him in this fucking game. You know.
But I'm sure. Once Illfonic gets back into their office, we'll probably start seeing more regular content updates. I would hope. But yeah, with the current situation, just how fucked this year is, just the fact that they've been able to do these updates, and I know you were saying, Aaron, that they could probably communicate with the community a bit more, but I think they've been doing a pretty good job keeping active on social media and keeping people updated with their plans for the game. It could be more. It could be more, but
on the forums, they are AWOL. They are missing. I mean,
well, the forums are pretty chaotic. Last time I looked at them,
I've never ever liked official forums because they always feel like a fucking wildland. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take gonna try and keep up with Hunting Grounds' official forums. I'm gonna try and get involved, keep up to date on everybody's problems. I lasted 3 days.
Yeah. It was the same for me. I went on there because I was with a lot of people in terms of the Predator feeling underpowered. But after they fixed that in the first balance patch, I was like, yeah, I'm good. The forums are just there. It got a bit wild on their forums. I did think so myself.
I just go there usually when I brainstorm, like with the bad blood idea. It's like, okay, let me put that in the forum. Maybe they're going to read it, you know. And with the Dizzy Effect, with the War Club, and I'm hoping, you know, you have the suggestions section of the forum, and I'm hoping they're reading it, you know, at least giving it some consideration. But I don't know.
Hopefully. Like I said, they love the property, so
yeah.
I think they will be taking note of suggestions and stuff like that. But I'm just hoping that they've got a fuck ton of ideas that we just don't know about yet, but are coming. I just wish they'd let us know. What about playing as the fire team then? How do people enjoy the human thing? Because I imagine most of us are playing mostly as the fire team anyway.
I enjoy it. I mean, no, it's not Call of Duty, but this is not, what do they call it, a AAA game. Granted, I'm not a huge fan of the classes. I kind of stay away from Recon and Scout. You know, I kind of focus mostly on assault and support. I know people give the AI a hard time, but you know what? I'm okay with the AI because it feels like the Predator movie. I mean, how good can this AI be? And they've already improved it. You know, the AI, if you remember, Dutch and his team could just plow through these guys like a Swiss cheese. One-liners. Go ahead.
I think that is another one of those thematic strong points for this game, because at the end of the day, the Predator was set up as an arcade A-team type film until it switches gear. And I think that kind of works for Hunting Grounds in that it feels a little arcadey when you are fighting Stargazer. It's just one of those thematic plus points for me. How intentional that particular arcadiness is, I don't know, but I buy into it completely.
Yeah.
Well, I watch some of these videos and they're like, why aren't these guys, you know, crouching when they're shooting and hiding behind cover? I'm like, imagine if a Predator shows up. I mean, how the hell are we going to be dealing with such great AI and a Predator?
They are meant as a distraction to give the Predator those opportunities to take out the fire team. But there are some moments where it's like, man, this AI is dumb. Where I've had some moments where I've killed an AI and the other guy walks over to his body and just goes, huh, and then turns around and just like walks away. And I'm like, come on, guys, like a little bit more immersion here. But yeah,
I think they fixed a lot of that in the patch, though.
Oh, okay.
That AI craziness, yeah.
And they all have the same face too. It's kind of weird. All the AI mercenaries have exactly the same face. I mean, some of them have face masks, but you can shoot them off, and it's the same face again. And I know they're cannon fodder, right? So it might be asking a bit much, but it's like a little variety. Come on.
So what do you guys think of the classes of the fire team?
Yeah, I'm with you, AJ. I don't like the recon too much. I mean, it's good if you're just gonna snipe the Predator in the tree, but I mean, once the Predator gets in close, you're kind of screwed. You don't have as much health. So yeah, I mainly stick with assault myself. Also, they have the chain gun, so you can pretty much use Old Painless in this, which is fun.
That is fun. And assault, I think you get a bonus for using a secondary weapon, so it does even more damage. But I tell you, that feels like the 1987 film when you got the minigun in your hand and you're shooting at the trees and the branches are coming down.
Yeah.
Well, there's even an achievement for that, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm sure Adam got all those achievements by now.
I'm still working on them. Some of them are pretty rough, like the 1,000 trophy claims. It's like, how am I gonna do that?
Is it long claim or is it?
It's not 1,000 for the long claims. I think it's 100 for the long claim is the trophy for that, or it might be 50. I don't know, but yeah, some of them are a little grindy, but I'm working on it.
I'm the same as you guys. I'm only really playing assault, and same as on the Predator side. I'm just generally sticking to Hunter. I'm just leaving it on the default stuff. I don't feel like there's incentive enough to really experiment with the other classes. But weapon-wise, I really enjoy some of the weapons in the game. Actually, it was great seeing the. They all have copyright avoidance names, but it was great seeing like the AA-12 in there because you get to pretend to be fucking Royce. It was great seeing the MP7 and the Chris. It's just modern kind of futuristic looking stuff. The Chris is connected as well. That's used in the Predator. The Predator bit. The connections there. But yeah, like the choice of the weapons in the game, I really like. But again, with everything, I just want more. I just want more. Give me more. Give me a G36, please. But I really do like the new Hammerhead, and I really love the new the Dutch blade as well. Again, lore building into it, but the idea of this being a Predator wrist blade that's been fashioned into a melee weapon for Dutch, I think it's fucking brilliant. Again, it's just love. It's just love from Illfonic for the property and the lore.
Can't give them credit enough. Yeah. And those impact grenades on the hammerhead.
Oh yeah, love being able to select that underslung. When me and Adam were first playing it when it came out, I was like, can we use this fucking thing? How are we supposed to use it? And then when we figured out, how to do it, I was like, yes, it's brilliant. Love it.
What about the gear, guys? Like the thermal decoy, the noisemaker?
Interesting thoughts. I don't think they're there yet. Like, the thermal's fucking pointless. I was playing as Predator earlier, and Adam was dropping the thermals. And I was like, mate, that's just giving you away. And then when you get in it, you're not camouflaged anyway because of the fucking the Fireteam indicator that goes above you.
I do think it's good if the Predator already knows where you are, and if your fire team is doing an objective and you're all like inside of a building, then it might be good to drop one because it is a bit distracting even outside of the thermal vision. So
I find it more annoying as a fire team member when everything suddenly turns fucking orange.
Yeah.
I actually have thrown it as a distraction, as we're leaving a place.
Luring them away from somewhere.
Yeah.
Mud up and lure it away. Yeah.
I think the Predator gadgets are actually quite interesting. I love the bear trap. I love the bear trap.
Yeah.
And that stops players in the tracks. It's brilliant.
And that's another feature from the film is mudding up. And you try and be consistent about that because it does hide your thermal signature. And it's funny because the enemy AI will comment on that. They'll be like, mud, why? So,
and when one of them's like, I hope this is mud. I hope this is just mud.
Yeah. And do you guys use the motion detector? I often drop them off in key points.
That I haven't really played.
Yeah, I use the bear traps a bit more. And there's another mechanic where there's a bunch of hogs running around the map, which is also kind of a throwback to the one they killed in the original movie. And that's one of the ways you can re-up your health as a Predator if you've run out of medkit syringes. So
they really used to be hard to find until they did.
They were frustrating at first. Yeah, the patch did fix that as well. And I think that's what hurt a lot of the reviews early on is because there were a number of bugs that I came across too. Like even in the menus, we'd see like character models just not loading. You couldn't jump out of a tree sometimes as a Predator. You would get stuck or you would fire a plasma caster into the branches.
As well. God, that irritated the shit out of me. My favorite feature from any of the patches has been the clear all notifications button.
Yes, thank you for that.
Well, I don't know if you guys noticed because you're on the PC, but they fixed the graphics. It actually looks like a PS4 game now. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, everything sometimes look a little pixelated, sometimes a little rigid, and I think it was the lighting. But they did a significant improvement to the graphics that it looks so much better and so much like the PC version now. That I'm like, finally, but why did this take, a few patches, 3 weeks, a bunch of reviews later, a month later, who knows? Why couldn't this come out during launch? So I was very happy to see, but frustrated at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, I played it on the PS4 Pro, and I mean, it always looked fantastic in terms of the lighting and the jungle and the foliage and everything, except for the frame rate. The frame rate was what really got me irritated, especially when the bullets started flying. you would get some massive frame drops, and they have seemed to fix that a bit.
I haven't noticed any issues with
and
the
it's
actual
more, it's
game.
more on the Fireteam side of things than the Predator things. The Predator seems to keep closer to 60, but the Fireteam, it's weird because the frame rate seems to be a variable one, and it changes depending on how much you're looking at and how much is going on. So I know we're kind of on the verge of the PlayStation 5 coming out, and I do hope that this game will be compatible with that and that it'll take advantage of the boosting features, like have this game running 60 frames a second, 4K, do a graphics boost for a PS5 version. And I think that would contribute to the longevity of the title.
See, I personally haven't had any frame rate issues. I'm now playing it on the PC, but I did play a lot on the PS4. And compared to the beta, I'm doing it again. Compared to the trial, I really didn't have any frame rate issues as a Fireteam member. It really didn't. It didn't flag up for me at all.
I didn't have issues either, but I did see on the forums it complained a lot. But ever since the latest patch, I think a lot of people have calmed down about that. Said most of those issues were resolved, including the graphics problems. So it looks like they are listening and addressing the issues, but they're just not very public about it.
Well, the patch notes have been at least quite useful in terms of knowing that something's going to be there anyway as well. The performance issues were,
I guess, on social media and on the forum itself. So, but you're right. In the patch notes, they're addressing everything. You're right.
But in general, I do think communication is one of their biggest flaws at the minute.
Yeah, maybe they just don't have enough staff.
Maybe. I mean, like has been said, they are a small studio. Just because Sony's backing them doesn't mean it's going to be, a launch title style. Support. At the end of the day, that always has been a thing with Alien and Predator stuff in general. It's never really been AAA. Look back at Concrete Jungle again. That wasn't a big game. Extinction wasn't a big game. I mean, we've been lucky. We've had some big games. AvP 2010 was very much a AAA. Isolation, yeah.
And if you look at Isolation, what was the thing that came out? They sold 2.3 million copies, and Sega still called it a failure. And then you wonder if they would have just spent a little less money on it. Would there have been a sequel? That wasn't a mobile game, which I love, by the way. I love Blackout.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I know a lot of that disappointment came out that there wasn't another console game, there was another PC game, but you could obviously point to the financial announcements that they directly called that out as being, disappointing sales. And maybe this is the way you have to approach Predator and Alien, unfortunately.
And this one has seemingly done well.
So.
Have they released any sales figures?
There was a thing on one of the entertainment charts. Let me just bring it up because I can't remember offhand what I posted. It was in the top 10 Predator games for April in terms of sales. So 1, 2, 3, 4,
top
5,
10
6,
PS4
7
games. You mean?
Yeah. What did I say?
You said Predator games. I wish there were that many Predator.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean PS4 games. It was 7th for April, though it was a little bit cheaper in terms of actual cash. Though it only came in 15th, but top 10. Yeah, that's good. I have no idea about how it's sold on Epic, but
just imagine if the reviews are better.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
I do think it's going to come down to content drops and further tweaks, and new game modes.
Yeah.
Like you said, Aaron, just content, and word of mouth will go around. If this game continues to get stronger, people are going to want their friends to play. Like, we're going to try and get our friends to play, so.
And if they've already brought it, they'll revisit it.
Yeah.
People move on. Well, I imagine the average gamer moves on to something different. But, if there's more new stuff coming out, they'll revisit. They might enjoy it more. They'll buy more of the DLC.
So this is the first major title we've gotten after Sega left being a publisher for the franchise. And this was published by Sony, which was interesting. Because, again, that just kind of came out of nowhere. And I wonder if Sony would have any further plans moving forward or what.
Again, it's going to depend on how well this does, doesn't it, though?
Yeah.
I mean, while I said I wasn't as bummed out by it being a multiplayer only game. I still fucking want my Open Galaxy Predator single player game. But you know, this shit's got to sell well. This shit's got to be received well. So we'll see.
And then maybe, at least for this game, they'll release a single player campaign. I mean, it's not going to be open world, and it's not going to be exactly what you're talking about, but apparently some people don't like multiplayer games. So if they do add that down the road, you know, it might need...
even a bot mode would be nice.
Yeah, just do a bot mode. You don't have to have this intricate story with like high production value events happening. Just give us a couple missions that go beyond the tutorial. And I think that would keep some fans happy, or just a bot mode. Especially, a lot of people take that into account with purchasing a game. Eventually, servers do go down, and if you know that, hey, I can still play this with bots, even if it's not as active as it was when it came out, I think that factors into the decision for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay. And this is the last thing I'm going to request from Illfonic, I promise. I would love to see a model viewer, because the models are so cool. To have a model viewer where you could turn off all the HUD and take screenshots. One of my hobbies is doing video game photography. And I love how so many games these days are including photo modes. So if there was some way to implement that, even if you couldn't do an in-game photo mode, like at least let me turn off the HUD so I can take better screenshots. So that's something I would really like to see.
And let us pose with the ship.
Yeah,
at least.
But I'm all out of story points, talking points. Has anybody else got anything to mention?
You gonna do a written review too?
Yeah, problem is I'm struggling to articulate how I feel about the game because of how much I fucking enjoy it, but how much certain things irritate me about it. Because I don't feel if I can accurately say, yes, I really love this, but I don't know if I can recommend it to you.
Are we going to give some scores?
We are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
why don't we go ahead and do that?
Yeah. Voodoo, lead us off.
Well, I'm a huge Predator fan, and to me, I see this like when my beautiful wife brings me dinner. Okay, I tell her a great meal can taste better if it's served by a beautiful woman. You know, served by somebody you're attracted to. You know, and I correlate that to Predator Hunting Grounds. If you're an avid gamer, if you're a hardcore gamer, this game might not be enough for you, but. And I would maybe rate it a 6 or a 7. But if you're a Predator fan, and if that Predator is that beautiful person to you and that 1987 classic film is your jam, then this game is really like an utter joy. And regardless of the issues, it's such worth your time, worth the purchase. As a Predator fan, I'd give it a 9. Best Predator game out there, beats Concrete Jungle.
Okay. Wasn't expecting that.
Pretty good. Probably the highest review this game has received.
Well, there's some user scores out there that give it some 10s. Yeah.
Go on then, RidgeTop.
So I feel like you and I are going to have the same score here, Aaron. And for me, it's hard to look at it objectively because we're such big fans, right? And your mileage is going to vary highly depending on how much of a fan you are. Like the game I was really into before this and still am into was Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And if you're used to playing a game like that, that's like uber polished, hundreds of millions of dollars are spent on it, like, then yeah, you might be disappointed here. But at the same time, you have to realize games can sometimes evolve over time, especially games by smaller studios. I feel like they can really grow. And they can really make an experience from something that's good to great. So for me, as a Predator fan, I really want to give it an 8, but I have to just look at some of the issues and look at the lack of content and be like, yeah, this is about a 7. Like it's good, but it could be great. And I do feel like we could come back a year from now and review the game again, like we were saying, and I could give it an 8 or a 9, depending on how much content it had, how much further tweaks they had done. So that's kind of the issue with live service games, right? Is that they change a lot over time, and you kind of have to reevaluate where you are with the game. But there's so much potential here, and it so shows a respect for the franchise and the lore that we haven't seen for a long time, and especially not in the video game space. It reminds me a lot of the Hunters comics, right? Like that, those comics have real respect for the lore, and they really contribute to the franchise and move it forward in interesting new ways. And I feel like that's what this game does, and hopefully will do a lot more of. So for me, that score is very, very much subject to change. It's a 7 right now. It's fun. There's a lack of content. It needs more of that, and there's still some issues they could work out. But it's strong. It's fun. I want to play it with my friends. So that's about, I guess, a summary of my thoughts.
Okay. I would also go with a 7 out of 10 as a Predator fan, because, as like I've said throughout this, it's fun. It's thematically so Predator in terms of I was laughing at you earlier about how the gameplay loop's always being used. You know, the gameplay loop is the entire setup of the original Predator film, and it works. It works. There is some variation on how well the Predator player actually is, but from a purely thematic point of view, I love it. I really, really, really love Hunting Grounds for that aspect, and the lore drops. Fuck if I was expecting that going into it, but I really dig those. And again, it shows me just how much Illfonic's creative staff, writing staff, care about the lore and how much they enjoy what they're doing, and they're relishing the opportunities to fucking get Arnie to sit there and record a bunch of logs, But on the other hand, on an objective level, there are problems with it. 3 maps on launch. Come on, that is. Yeah, that's harsh. That is. I just want more. I want more content. I love what's there. I love the customization. I love the fucking masks. I love the human weapons, and I just want more. Give me more, and we'll get a better score going forwards. But yeah, it's a hard one for me to really sum up, just because of how much fun I have with it and how much I do want to come and play it. But is your average punter really going to care? At this point, probably not. If you're a Predator fan who happens to enjoy online gaming, I think you will enjoy it. I think you will be able to look past the current issues and just enjoy it as a Predator thing. But if you're used to playing something else, if your times, if you're not somebody to stick to things like I am, in terms of, I only buy Predator and Alien games or Battlefield games because I know they're what I'm going to enjoy, then maybe you won't be so interested. But hopefully over the next however many months, it does iron out those objective issues, and it becomes a great game with plenty of great content, as well as just being a fun Predator game. So I think I will have to go with 7 out of 10.
Yeah. But it could, depending on how it looks, a year or half a year from now, or who knows, it could go all the way up to a 9 for me. So yeah. I want to be right there with you, Voodoo, in terms of score. But
I did caveat that if you were an avid gamer, it'd be a 6 or 7,
Yeah.
But solely with my Predator goggles on, and all the lore and all the things they get right. And the bare bones is right. And you're right. We just need more. We need more of what's right. Uh-huh. And I'm just looking at what's right. And I tell you, if I played like 10 hours a game per day, I'd be sick of it. But I don't get on the game as much as I hope to. I do some late night excursions. And, if I have 45 minutes to kill, this is perfect, and I'm satisfied. For the hardcore gamer who's on it, yeah, I could see them getting tired rather quickly and saying, look, you got to keep my interest. And I get that. And they need to focus on that. But for a casual gamer who's a Predator fan, woo, just bring in Harrigan. Raise that puppy to 10.
Voodoo sold.
Yeah.
Buy the DLC 10 times if you could.
Give him a smart disc. Yeah.
Okay. Right, well, I think that's us done then, isn't it?
Yeah.
If
I really enjoyed being on with you guys. We could call ourselves, it's Aaron, Adam, and AJ, AAA team. I hope one
Certainly.
day you guys will have me back someday.
It was great to have you on.
Well,
Yeah, I'm sure.
This was your audition for the Predators episode, so
or at
see
least
it.
Predator 2, right?
Yeah.
But you guys do need to mix it up because you did go over Predators already, I think.
I don't think Eric's talked about about Predators, so
I don't know. It's been a while.
No, because I think it was just me, you, and Doom Rules last time, Adam.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, thank you for coming on, Voodoo. It's
Thank
been
you for having me.
Oh, final question then.
Yes, sir.
Was it worth the purchase of a PS4?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
No regrets.
No regrets. Maybe it would have been a little harder if I was strapped for cash. Fortunately, I'm in a good cash situation still, even with the madness that's going on around us. So,
Good.
Good.
Glad to hear.
But then again, I don't have all that great stuff behind you there.
Well, all the books.
That is an epic shelf. Yeah.
That is an epic
I
shelf.
always have to kind of scan
shelves.
over that every time we do a podcast. I'm like, what have I missed there?
Is that China Sea? That's like $100 alone.
Oh, wait.
All right. People in the podcast will be like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'll cut this out for the audio version.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You got two of them.
So
he's got two.
We have two here. We have a reading copy, and then we have a
signed copy. Nice.
Signed copy by Mr.
Very
Jeff
nice.
Vandermeer himself. I used to have a third copy, but one of the other members, I sent that to him ages ago.
So I feel like there was one thing we missed here, Aaron. I don't know how relevant it is really, but there was a prequel novel for this, just like there was for the last Predator film. We'll go into that at all.
We'll do an episode on that one separately. Okay. Right. Thank you everybody for listening or watching, depending on your preferred podcasting outlet. If you are new to the podcast, new to us, all the hub of our activity can be found on avpgalaxy.net. That is an old school message board. Those are rare in this day and age. Very much active, very friendly and active community, as evidenced by Mr. VoodooMagic here. We're also on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, AvP Galaxy, or Alien versus Predator Galaxy versus as in VS dot. And we're also on YouTube. If you're watching it, please head back onto the main YouTube page. If you're listening, please head to our channel on YouTube as well. Check out our content there. We've got Let's Plays of the various games. We've got lore videos. We've got editorial pieces. I alluded to some stuff that Voodoo was doing earlier. He's working on a new Predator piece that's going to be a video. It's going to be a written article. I've got a Alien 3 piece that's going to be a video and going to be a written article. I've got a new Predator lore video coming up as well after I've done all those. And we've got Let's Plays to finish with AvP 2 and a couple of new fan endeavors that we've seen that we're also going to be doing videos of. So there's plenty on there. Please go check out our content, especially at this time when you're locked behind your doors and stuff and you want stuff to do.
Yeah, this is what keeps us sane, is the escapism to our favorite franchises. So
sure does.
And if you want to follow me personally, I'm available on Twitter as @_Corporal Hicks. Alien, Predator, also my other big interest, which is stuff like Stargate, Star Trek, general space stuff, Halo, stuff like that. What about you, Adam?
If you'd like to follow me personally, it's RidgeTop21 on both Twitter and Instagram.
I'm Voodoo. I know you're on Twitter.
Yeah, you can follow me at FN, as in effin, VoodooMagic.
VoodooMagic man.
VoodooMagic man. It's always the same.
Well,
see, what we got to do is we all got to play through Concrete Jungle again and do an episode on that.
Oh yeah, there's the podcast tends to be so sort of reactionary at the minute, which is great because it means there's been so much fucking content coming out that we get to do. We get to talk about something new every month, which is brilliant. But you know, there's a backlog of shit that we can go over, and we fucking intend on going over. You know, there'll be let's plays of AvP. Of AvP. There'll be let's plays of Concrete Jungle, and we'll do review episodes on it and stuff like that. Don't you worry, we got content to come for years.
Excellent.
Well, this has been Corporal Hicks
and RidgeTop
and VoodooMagic.
Get into the chopper.